Welcome back to Organizational Policy and Change, CR 650 in Thomas College, Master of Science in Criminology. We have finished up Chapter 1, and so we're going to be moving on to Chapter 2. I hope the discussion forum for Chapter 1 was helpful to you. I hope it stimulated some ideas on how to actually document a problem that you see that exists. And so today we're actually going to be moving into the second stage of the process, which is setting goals and objectives. And so I'm going to give you an overview of the chapter, just like I did last week, and then provide you with a slideshow with some details in it. So the outline for the chapter is fairly simple. It starts off with writing goal statements. These goal statements are supposed to be a general outcome that you expect to be obtained as you complete the or as you implement the change. Consider the goals and the sanctions that exist. So in the case of last week's problem that we identified that school violence was a problem that we wanted to look at. So what we want to look at is the goals of the outcome based on what the schools would like to see. Now, keeping in mind that we're looking at this from the criminology standpoint or the criminal justice standpoint, the implementation into a criminal justice environment within the school. So we're suggesting changes that can be made through policy to an organization that's not part of the criminal justice system, but has stakeholders within the criminal justice system. When you think about the largest number of criminals in our prisons today, the vast majority of them got started as juveniles. And so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to look at the school violence issues that exist and try to come up with policies and changes that can be made to hopefully reduce the number of people who are involved with the criminal justice system later in life. So those are the types of goal statements that we're going to be looking to write. Write specific outcome objectives for each goal. So what would be an outcome that you would like to see for that particular goal? And so it should include a time frame. Remember back to when you came into Thomas College, the guest speaker came in and told you that you needed to have a time frame for any goal that you set. Otherwise, it's just a wish. And so we are going to set time frames to measure the impact. We also want to identify our target population, and we want to look at a key result that's intended from this objective, and then specific criterion on the measurement of the impact. So not only does it have to be written, not only does it have to have the results, the intended results, but it has to be able to be measurable. Because if a goal is not measurable, it's not really a goal. The third step is going to be to seek participation from different individuals and agencies in the goal setting process. We're going to be looking to involve all the well, not all of the various stakeholders, but representations from the various stakeholders. Excuse me just a minute. All the various stakeholders, their group should be represented as we are looking to get these goals in place. The fourth step is to identify compatible and incompatible goals in the larger system. What that means is, where do values of different stakeholders overlap and conflict? So, in other words, from the criminal justice standpoint, we're going to have school resource officers within the schools. They're going to have values that conflict with the teachers at times, because our responsibility is to make sure that the people in the building and the property is safe, and that that is being handled in a responsible way. So yes, that would be a goal of the teachers, but their main responsibility is educating the students. That's what they're there to do. So there can be some conflicts that exist, and we just need to be able to identify those. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for compatibility, and in the larger system, what we're looking to do, we're going to be looking to make these goals so that they are compatible with everyone's expectations. The next is to identify the needs and opportunities for interagency collaboration. I say interagency, there will be some, so the social services, the juvenile probation, all of those people have a stake in this particular issue. And so they should also be consulted and be at the table. They should be part of the process for identifying the solutions to the problems. So as we continue this, we want to make sure that those voices are heard. And I can tell you from working on multidisciplinary teams, that can be a challenge, not only from a scheduling standpoint, but again, from that stakeholder conflict and overlap can be significant, especially when you're dealing with kids. And then finally is to specify an impact model. That is a description of how this intervention will act upon the specific cause that we're trying to make change. So we want to bring about change, so we need to look at how that each intervention is going to impact that change. And so as we go through chapter 2, as you read through chapter 2, you're going to see that many interventions fail, and generally they don't fail because they don't have good ideas. They generally fail because they don't have good goals. They have very vague ideas as to what they want. The various stakeholders have disagreement about the goals. Every program and policy needs a precise definition of what the outcome is expected, and if the intervention is going to be effective, we need to have that. We need to have those goals identified, and very specific goals. And again, we got to have time frames, and we've got to make sure that all the stakeholders have buy-in to those different goals. Defining the goals and objectives is crucial, and it can make or break the planning process. It amazes me how many expensive projects we can see that are well intentioned, but the interventions fail because of a lack of planning. And it generally comes because one group decides that they're going to make the policy change based on their perspective of what needs to be done. And that just doesn't work in a multi-disciplinary environment like we have in a school setting. So we have to acknowledge that disagreements between stakeholders exist. And so how do we best come at the solution? Again, everybody's desire is to have a safe school. So that is the overarching issue that we need to come back to whenever we're dealing with the different stakeholders. So keep that in mind, that we do agree on the overarching issue. But if we can't get agreement on the specific goals, then we won't have buy-in, and the policies or interventions that we're using will not work. So what I want you to do, go through this chapter. Again, you have the slides online, and you have an overview lecture here. And from your reading of the chapter, you should be able to come up with some ideas for implementing change, implementing goals and strategies. And so that's what we're going to put into place in this week's discussion forum. So have a great week, and I will see you at the end when we talk about in the discussion forum.